Good evening. It is such an honor and a pleasure to get a chance to spend some time with you guys. I want you to know that it is my passion that every young person that I meet, that they see the God in me and not the me in me. I know it's so exciting at times to see football clips and to meet football players, even cheer on your favorite team. But the reality is, throughout my 8-year career and what I had to learn about purpose, I thought that football was my purpose. And I did the research. And it's inevitable that football ends one day. I want you guys to know that purpose lasts forever. So while I was playing, I thought that football was my purpose. At times, I thought that what I did out there was on the strength of my ability, only to be fired out of the NFL and had to cling to what God was telling me to do. To get to that point, it took a lot. It started when I was a kid. I had great parents. My mom pressed religion into me, force-fed it to me to the point to where I kind of was a rebellious kid. As a kid, I had friends that got to experience some things that I didn't get to experience because my parents were a little bit more protective and I wouldn't say cared more about me, but they knew the harm that the world would bring. So they wanted to keep a close grip on me. And at times I found myself as a kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, being influenced by some of my friends who got a little bit more leeway than I did. That caused me to be interested in things as I grew older. I played football. I got a scholarship at LSU. I was fortunate enough to go to school for 3 years. A lot of things that I did in college, I regret. I had to learn a lot of lessons when I was in college. I was fortunate enough to get drafted to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I won a national championship in college. But being drafted in the NFL at 21, multi-million-dollar contract, for me, my life had just begun. And it was such a great opportunity for me to do and play a game that I love and get paid for it. I was 21 years old. I signed a $12 million contract to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I signed with them for 5 years. My first year, I had a record-breaking year. 80 catches, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. I was the talk of the town. I was in every newspaper, on every TV show, and this was the life. This is what I enjoyed. I embraced the people who would come into my life and would just befriend me just because I was a football player. I had people who came into my life who wanted to get close to me just because I had money, and their motives were to get my money or to take advantage of me. There are a lot of situations that success brought me that I wasn't prepared for when I was younger. That first year was extraordinary. At the end of that year, a person that was very close to me, my godmother, calls me one day and she was crying. And she says, "Michael, I don't know how to tell you this, but God has something in store for you." And I started to smile because in the past, everything that she said, God said, was always good. She told me I was going to win a national championship. I told my teammates and what we had to do to prepare to win a national championship. She told me one time that my ankle wasn't going to swell. I was hurt before a very big game, and my ankle didn't swell. I went out and played one of the best games of my college career. It was phenomenal. But this time was different. She called me and she says, "Michael, you're about to go through hell. You're about to experience your fire." And she was crying in this moment because she didn't know if I was prepared to take on the challenge that God was about to lay on me. Now, looking at things in perspective, you would think that if you go through things, sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you want to quit. Sometimes you want to move on to do something else. But in this instance, God was taking me through something to shape me and mold me. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know how to deal with adversity. I had never really been through adversity before in my life. Had loving parents who took care of me, and I always had success. Never had any troubles. But on this day, she called me and said that I was about to go through the fire. And sure enough, for the next 6 years in Tampa Bay, I went through the fire. I was demoted. I was talked about by fans. They blamed me for losing games. It was a team sport. I had 11 different quarterbacks in 5 years. I had surgery every single year that I've played in the National Football League. There were a lot of things that played into us as a team not having success. But I was the blame because I was one of the highest paid and one of the most recognizable players out there. Thinking that things would bounce back. One of the toughest things to do is to go to work every single day and hope for the best, prepare for the best, and yet the same outcome comes back to me. I had a choice to make at that moment in my life. I was confused. It was like I was on a dark path. I had thoughts of wanting to quit the NFL. I had lost the love for football completely because of the situation that I was in, not being able to have the success that I truly knew that I deserved and I desired. And it was an opportunity for me to make a decision. I remember what my godmother told me. She said, son, you're about to go through hell, but you have to stay close to God. You have to find your purpose. And in the end, you will win. She said, but don't be afraid because I see you in the north. Now, I didn't know what this was all about. What is this north that you're talking about? I played 5 years in Tampa. I did go through a lot of tough times. How did I deal with that? I remember what she said, stay close to God. So what did I do? I began to mentor the players who came in to replace me. I began to mentor them and tell them about my tough times and maybe sometimes how I carried myself out of character and hurt myself. People looked at me different, and I made sure that they didn't make the same mistakes. I became a leader, giving those what they needed, my testimony. This is what I went through, and I want to help you become a better person than I am. My fire, my tough times that I went through helped me build my character. It was the only thing that brought me peace. Guys relying on me every single day. Hey, Mike, can I talk to you for a second? Can I run this by you? That was the only joy that I had, not playing football and scoring touchdowns. The fact that my teammates looked to me for help. At this moment, I still didn't know what my calling was or what my purpose was or why I was even going through these tough times. My 5th year with the Bucs wasn't my last year. For some reason, odd reason, I call it divine happenings, I was signed to a second contract worth $25 million. No touchdowns, no yards. People talking about me in the newspaper. When I signed, they said he doesn't deserve it. But people didn't know what God had in store for me. And my time wasn't up here in Tampa. He gave me a new deal. I played 2 more years, and then I was fired. Out of football. It's all I ever known is to play the game of football. Lord, this was my purpose. This is what I was called to do, to play the game of football, and I know how to play this game. And now it had been taken away from me. I didn't know what to do. I sat at home 7 weeks, scared, embarrassed. I have kids. Playing in the NFL is all they've ever known daddy to be, is an NFL football player. And now I had to look my beautiful children in the face and say, Daddy's not playing anymore. Daddy got fired. I had to look my wife in the face and tell her that I had no longer had the plan to take care of us for the rest of our lives, that I needed to get back in school and I needed to prepare. And it was tough because life at this time had always been so easy. And now it was tough. I sat at home 7 weeks. I go home to see my mother, and she hands me a passage that says, have faith, my son. I'm going to open doors, but you have to have the courage to walk through them. That is God telling me to have faith, young people. Times are going to be tough. Pressure breeds diamonds. Fire sharpens steel. Your tough times in life will lead you to be who you are supposed to be, what God has designed you for. When I read that passage from my mother, my agent called me. He told me it was an opportunity to go play in a UFL. I didn't want to play in the UFL. I belonged in the NFL. But I went anyway. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I was embarrassed because I was no longer in the NFL. I was playing in the UFL. For those who don't know, the NFL, I was making $3 million a year. The UFL, I was making $300 a week. Big difference, right? I didn't want to go play in the UFL. I asked my agent, what team do you want me to go play for? He says, Omaha Nighthawks. I began to think about what my godmother had told me. I see you in the north. And I'm thinking, Lord, don't let this be the north you're talking about. But in obedience, one thing that I've always recognized out of my mother, out of my godmother, is their obedience. It resonated to me that even though my godmother did not want to tell me what God said to say because she felt that it was going to hurt me, she was obedient. So in this moment, I was obedient. I went to the UFL. I played 1 month. Had a great experience there. God opened up doors, and in week 3, the New York Football Giants called me. It was an opportunity of a lifetime. I told the New York Giants, because God spoke to me, finish what you start. I had 1 more game left in the UFL, but the New York Giants were calling me to come back into the NFL. But God spoke to me and said, as clear as I'm speaking to you guys today, finish what you start. I had to tell the New York Football Giants, the team that I always wanted to play for, oh, Lord, is that the North that you're talking about, Godmother? But I had to finish what I started. So I told the New York Giants that I couldn't come that week because I had to finish my last game getting paid $300. And if the opportunity next week presented itself, that I would gladly be there. In this life, young people, you're going to have to stand for something, or you will fall for anything. Your character means everything. I wanted to go play in the NFL, but it was not my time yet. And the only reason why I knew that is because I was being led by our higher power. When you allow him to lead you, you will never be steered in the wrong direction. Regardless of how tough it is, regardless of how hard it is just what you need to be what God has designed you to be. That will never change. Told the New York Giants that I couldn't go. I finished my last week in the UFL. The Giants were supposed to call me on that next Saturday, but they do not call. Sunday, my bags are packed at the door. No call. I'm thinking to myself, scolding God, God, why did you have me pass on this opportunity? What am I doing? I question myself. Am I really hearing from you? Or is my mind playing tricks on me? Sunday afternoon, I cut on my phone, on my TV. At the bottom of the screen, it reads, Dominique Hickson, New York Giants, wide receiver, out for the season, torn ACL. And I'm thinking like, man, that's neat. Sounds bad, doesn't it? Yeah, I know. And I didn't want it that way, but something in me just felt that, man, it would be so ironic if the New York Giants really called me now like they said they would. And just like that, my phone rings. I didn't look at the caller ID. I just picked it up assuming that, hey, cut on the TV, something reads around and says, hey, maybe I just answered my phone and maybe it's the Giants on the other end. Hello, this is Mike. How are you doing? Baby, you need to sign with the New York Giants. It was my mom. Mom, get off the phone. Waiting on a call here. I hang up the phone. Just in an instance, just like when my agent called after I read the message, my phone rings right back. Hello, may we speak with Michael Clayton? Yes, this is him. This is the New York Football Giants. We want to know if you can get on a flight at 7 o'clock. My bags were packed all ready to go. I'm walking out of the door. Absolutely, I'll be there. Got there the next day, not knowing what was going to happen. I walk into the foyer. There are 5 pictures that have pictures of football players with adjectives at the bottom: grit, toughness, honor, pride. In dead center, there's a word that says toughness. And it's a picture of 4 New York Giants players tackling a Tampa Bay Bucks player. And what did we talk about earlier? That Tampa Bay Bucks player had what under his eye? 1 patch. And I looked at the picture. It's the biggest picture in the foyer. I look, that's me. That's me. I couldn't get a picture like that in the Bucks facility for 5 years. Now here I am in the New York Football Giants facility. They played against us in 2007, the year they won their first Super Bowl. They played against us in the first round and we lost. But there I was, front and center on a championship photo. Cannot deny it. It's me, 1 patch. I knew then that these things were divine happenings. I got addicted to following what God would say because I knew that I had the power to steer myself wrong. I had the power to give up when things got tough. But if I allowed God to be my strength, there was nothing that I could not do. I went out and I had the greatest workout that I've ever had. I caught a ball behind my head, standing out of bounds or tiptoed the sideline. Caught it. I don't know how I caught it to this day. I didn't even see the ball. It was behind my head. What is going on? And I catch it, and Coach Coughlin runs out on the field. He says, I've seen enough. They brought me to the hospital, got my physicals, and I was signed to the New York Giants on that Tuesday. That day I understood what my godmother was telling me. I see you in the north. That day I understood every single waking day of the fire that I went through in Tampa Bay had its purpose. I was addicted to following his word. When we first got there, I asked the wide receivers, hey, anybody a Christian out here? It's easy for people to say, yeah, everybody raised their hands to be a Christian. Nobody wants to be the ones with their hands down. Everybody raised their hand. I said, well, since we're Christians, guys, why we just walk off this football field without thanking him? How about we just go to the end zone and get on our knees and pray? We'll do it as a group. No team, just wide receivers. The guy said, okay. We go out, we have our prayer. One guy, new rookie, Jarrell Myers, or that was Jarrell, I forgot his last name. Jernigan, Jarrell Jernigan. I say, Jarrell, you pray. He shakes his head, no. I said, yeah, you pray. He says, no. You say you're a Christian, right? Yeah. Well, pray. No, they don't go together. Say you pray, man. Say what's on your mind. He said, all right. Lord, thank you for this day. Amen. That's it. I said, that's good. That's good. That's a start. That's a start. The next day, somebody else would pray, and the next day, somebody else would pray. And when it got back to Jarrell's turn, hearing everybody pray and hearing everybody be embarrassed, our prayers got better as a team. One thing that I love to see, though, it was the most interesting thing this year in New York, is not only would the wide receivers, our group, start praying at the end of practice in our end zone, but the quarterbacks started praying. The defensive ends started praying. The linebackers started praying. And as I would sit in the end zone on my knees, I would just thank God, because I know I listened to him. Hey, start a prayer. Hey, guys, we should start a prayer. I'm addicted to being obedient. But when you see the outcome of God's power, it is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. We did not make it to the playoffs that year. Next year, I get another deal. I re-signed back with the New York Giants. This year was a year full of expectation. We knew we had a good team. I knew that I had a specific role on the team. That year, week 4, God spoke to me and said, hey, this is the year I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. Now that you are following me like I asked you to. I used to tell people, I said, hey, I'm not a preacher. My mom tried to force feed it down my throat and I ran away. So God, if you just send me who you want me to talk to, I'll feed myself every day and I'll give your word away for free to whoever needs it. But I won't force feed it to anybody. Every single day of my life, my last year in New York, something divine would happen. I was in a hot tub. 5, 6 guys would come into the hot tub. Hey, Mike, what's the good word for today? And I would know exactly because I had just read it the night before. I was in the hot tub and one guy would come in, Mike, can I talk to you today, man? I got to run something by you. And it was just what I had read that morning to bring to the players. And sometimes I didn't know what to read. I was just beginning to read, and I would just open the Bible, close my eyes, flip, 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 read. Lord, if this is what you want me to read. And when I tell you every single time, that was the word that was needed for somebody else. Young people, you have to prepare yourself and your life to be a vessel for Jesus Christ. It is the only way that you will maximize your full potential. How many of you want to be the very best that you can be? We all do. There's a little secret to how you be the very best that you can be. And it is indulging in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Week 4, he spoke to me and said, this is the year that I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. You're going to win a Super Bowl. I began to start a fellowship, a players-only fellowship with the team. Week 4, we had 4 guys. We would talk about how to be better men, how to be better fathers, how to be better husbands, the temptations and the things that life presents, the things that try to distract us from our calling. We talked about these things as men. We asked each other to hold us accountable. Hey, I need you to hold me accountable, and you need me to hold you accountable. That's what we need. We go out through the year. To make a long story short, there was a small time where we lost 4 games in a row, and everybody thought that we were going to be out of the playoffs. But 6 times that season, we came back in dramatic fashion from a come behind, including our Super Bowl win with the Patriots. for us to go on that journey that year, for me to be a vessel, God using me to speak through these guys. When somebody says, hey, we're going to win a Super Bowl this year, you don't believe them. You don't just go out and win a Super Bowl. It's not that easy. Some of your best players never have won a Super Bowl. But to make bold predictions like this, it's kind of insane when it happens. But I tell you the truth. God's word is irrevocable. If you give yourselves wholeheartedly to the word, what God tells you is going to come to pass. It is going to come to pass, without a doubt. At the end of the game, when the clock read 0, my teammates hoisted me up on their shoulders. Can you believe that? Not about football. I wasn't even in uniform because I was hurt. It was about the spiritual journey. Those guys will never, never forget the spiritual journey that we went on. The icing on the cake was winning the Super Bowl. His word was irrevocable, and it came to pass. Ever since that day, I've been blessed to have many different divine experiences, knowing that God is real, knowing that God can do magical things. He impresses me every single day with opportunity and people that I meet. I would love for you guys to not take the road that I took. I tell you these stories because it took me a long time to get where God eventually led me to. We talk and we speak to young people so that you guys may expedite your growth. That hopefully you guys won't have to go through some of the experiences that I had to go through. And there are going to be times where you can't get away. There are going to be times where life is going to press you hard. And it's going to be very difficult. Very difficult. But I tell you this, as long as you have God on your side, and He's number one in your heart, He's going to see you through every single time.